Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Where's our Russian translator? Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, the internet is working. It's been working better lately for you? The internet? No? Everyone in internet land, the internet's been working better here in Mayapur. We probably won't get cut off. I don't think. We're late. So, a lot of we have a translator? You have her phone number? We're waiting for a Russian translator. Oh, there she is. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Premanandi Hari. Mugyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuro Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Have you ever done something in your life that you first thought you couldn't do? Anybody? Raise your hand. Or you see somebody doing it and you think, I could never do that. And then, some point in your life, you learn how to do it. You grow, you understand. Then you do it, and then, once you can do it, it's easy. But first you thought, this is really difficult. Yes? You have that experience? You? Yeah. Yeah. So, Krishna consciousness is a lot like that. Because many, many devotees, when they confront their conditioning, their anarthas, their material desires, they think, I don't think I can ever be Krishna conscious. And this idea of loving Krishna and entering Krishna's pastime seems very foreign to many devotees. At least many devotees have expressed that to me. That, no, I'll never be Krishna conscious, or I'm so fallen, I don't believe it's possible, or not for 1,000 lives or whatever. But just in the same way that we were able to do something that we thought we couldn't do, Krishna consciousness is something that we will work our way into, and it will become very natural, and as much as it may not always feel natural now. Does that make sense? So now I was thinking of an analogy which will help us. If you have a tarnished coin, a copper coin, tarnished, it's very dark, and you get some polish, and you polish it, what will happen? As long as it's good polish, and you don't give up, what will happen? Shine, and it'll look pretty much like brand new. When I was a kid, I used to collect coins. And I liked to shine them up, because you'd have these old coins, and you could shine them, and they look like new coins. I thought that was like really cool. It's 20 years old, and you shine it up, and it's still shining. It's 100 years old, you shine it up, and it still shines. So I think this is a very good analogy to what happens if you shine through the process of bhakti. You shine your heart. You keep shining and polishing. At some point, it's going to start shining, because that's its nature. That's what's there. Yes? So I think we should think like that. And we had discussion last few weeks about this idea that Prabhupada said 16 rounds, 4 principles, Mangalartik, service, work with your authorities, then you go back to Godhead. Now, the reason that many devotees have difficulty accepting that, and this came up in the discussion, you have to be pure to go back to Godhead, right? So, if all I have to do is chant and follow the principles, and I go back to Godhead, the natural doubt is, will I be pure enough at the time that I leave my body? But that is really never a question that Prabhupada ever entertained. Prabhupada's focus was on the process, on the polishing. It wasn't on, well, if you polish, I'm not sure it'll shine. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. That wasn't the way he presented it. And he never presented it in this way, that if you work hard and polish, you still may not be sure that it'll shine. He never said that. It's not the way he presented Krishna consciousness, did he? Have you ever read anything like that? I don't think so. It's not how he presented it. He just presented it, follow it, and you'll get the result. But he didn't. There are instances where people really didn't follow much and they got the result, right? Some special mercy. But he never told us to go that route. He always said, go the route of sadhana and it'll work. So nice meditation is, Krishna consciousness is natural. That's what's under there, right? Under everything is Krishna consciousness. Now, it feels like under everything is just more lust and greed and envy, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like that sometimes? Well, I just finished reading the whole Bhagavatam last year. So, Prabhu, what happened? Well, it was really blissful, but now I'm back to where I was. My same greedy, lusty, envious self. You ever have that experience? Like, you think you're doing good, like you're a sick person, and then one day you feel really good, so you go out, you get on your bike, and you're riding around, and you get home and you collapse. But you were feeling good on your bike, but you didn't realize that you weren't healthy, so when you get home, you just kind of collapse. It was too much. So those are the kinds of things that make us feel like the process is not working. Or maybe it's working for somebody, but it's not working for me. And then we start doubting the things that Prabhupada said. Because I went to this kirtan, and it was amazing. I went to Kirtan Mela last year. It was amazing. It was ecstatic. Or I went to Vrindavan for Kartik. It was amazing. It was ecstatic. And now I'm back to my old miserable self again. My old conditioned miserable self, which is just thinking about cold weather and how I have to get warm, and that I'm hungry now, and I'm not sleeping enough, or I'm sleeping too much. It's just this self-centered me. And then that's why we lose faith. Right? So, that's why we hear about Krishna's pastimes. Because by hearing about Krishna's pastimes, it's a little polish on the coin. Right? It's a little polish, a little more polish. And if you get enough rust off, what are you going to have? You'll have love of Krishna. So what's happening to us is when we're feeling very Krishna conscious, and then we fall back, it was just a lot of mercy. Now there's a difference between mercy and advancement. Because a lot of times what happens is we get mercy. So when we get all this mercy, which we get from other devotees by being in the Dham, or when we have time to chant extra rounds or read more, we're getting more mercy. So that mercy is an energy which is pulling us up. Right? So you're feeling the mercy. But the actual purification is a much slower process. So when the mercy wears off, you kind of come back to where you're at. Yes?
Can be also offenses. Some devotees can
Yeah.
forget that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true, but less common. There have to be some really good offenses done to the right person, and then that will destroy you. But little offenses will, of course, affect you, no doubt. Well, that could be in the category of coming back to our normal self, our normal critical self. That Kirtan Mela was blissful. Now it's over, everyone's gone, and I'm back to my normal critical self. So, you're polishing this coin, and it's very, very tarnished, and you're polishing, and nothing's happening. And I say, just keep polishing, it'll shine. And you're polishing all day, and there's nothing. No, keep polishing, You're polishing and polishing, and nothing's happening, and you're starting to lose faith, And then you see another devotee, and he's got a coin, and it's shining. You go, oh, I guess it works. At least for you it worked. It's not working on my coin, but at least I have some faith. So you polish, and you see a little light coming through, a little shine, so you get encouraged, right? But then sometimes it tarnishes again, because it's an old coin. So that's what we're dealing with. The process of purification, it's very, very gradual. And the mercy is very, very strong, and we're sometimes experiencing that mercy in the form of amazing realizations, ecstasy, all these things, right? Have you ever got amazing realizations? Just like you look up and you go, where did that come from? That's not something I should understand in this level of devotional service. And then I get it. It's like, wow, that's amazing. And 3 days later, lust, anger, greed, envy, it's like, what happened? And you can't even remember that realization. Anyone have that experience? Prabhu, you were telling me about that realization you had last week. That was last week. This week was a bad week. I can't remember. I'm not feeling it. You ever have that experience? You can't even remember what it was. That's why we write down. And then you read your realization you had last year, and you're thinking, who was writing in my notebook? Did I actually have this realization? Because you were getting mercy. Right? And then you come back to that normal state. But the good news is that normal state, it goes up. But it goes up slower than you receive the mercy. The mercy it gives you energy and enthusiasm, and it's a gift. But we have a natural state of conditioning, and that doesn't mean the process is not working, or it's not going to work. It just means we have a lot of conditioning for many, many lifetimes. Now, something important is that one of the offenses to the holy name is to think that the glories of chanting Hare Krishna, the glories in our Shastra, are exaggeration. And what would the exaggeration be? The exaggeration would be that I'm so fallen, the holy name won't even purify me. You ever feel like that? You know, it might purify others, but I'm so fallen, it won't purify me. That would be an offense to the holy name, don't you think? Now, we don't think like that. We just think, I'm fallen, so that's why I say it. But it's actually an offense to the holy name. You understand? Because there's nowhere in our Shastra where it says the holy name can't deliver anybody, right? Could deliver anybody. Deliver the Jamil. He was pretty fallen, wasn't he? The Jamil. He left his wife and child, went off with a prostitute, married her, earned a living by stealing, whatever, from a Brahminical platform. That was pretty bad. Jagai Madhai, they were pretty bad. Could you imagine if in the days of Jagai Madhai they had gangster rap? What Jagai Madhai would be saying? I won't say what they would say. What would they be singing about? Nothing as bad as us, what we would do, or what we have done. So to think that the holy name will not purify you is an offense. Now, if you commit offense to the holy name, that's true, it won't purify you. But if you're not committing offense, it will purify you. You agree? Now, our Shastras say that when you chant the holy name purely, it will bring you to a stage of Krsna consciousness where your relationship with Krishna will be revealed. What do you think of that? Oh, Prabhu, it'll never work on me. That'll never happen. Raise your hand if you think like that. Yeah. Well, I have some really bad news for you. If you think like that, you're right. You understand? If you think like that, you're right. Because that's what's going to happen. Now, I'm coming out with a book someday. And I'm just editing it now, and it has an article on this topic. And it's an amazing, I don't know how to say this. But this article, every chapter is an article. It's not the book you're editing, it's a different book. And this chapter, I just read it yesterday, and I probably wrote it 4 or 5 years ago. So you know how Prabhupada would read his books? And he'd read his books and he'd say, I didn't write these books. So I was reading this chapter, and while I was reading it, I was thinking, wow, whoever wrote this is really good. It's really good. And anyway, so in the chapter, we're talking about this idea that, let's say, you have this idea that you won't be Krishna conscious in this lifetime. Now, that idea may come completely from ignorance, or completely from our conditioned nature. Maybe you were a failure at everything you ever did, and so you think, well, I'm just going to fail at this like I failed at everything else. Or maybe you were a success at everything you did, and you came to Krishna consciousness, and you couldn't be number one at it like you were in school, and then you gave up. Because some people do that, because you can't just go to Krishna consciousness and rise to the top of the class the first year, because you have past conditioning, right? So some devotees come and they try to rise to the top, and they don't, they kind of give up. And there may be other reasons why you give up, or why you think you can't be Krishna conscious in this life. But the point is, if you think that way, you won't be. Why would you try to do something that you think you can't do? Does that make sense? If I'm chanting, and I think nothing is happening, what's going to happen to my chanting? It's going to be more like chanting, because it doesn't really work, so why really try hard and chant, because I've been trying and I'm still falling. That's how you'll chant. And why bother reading Shastra? Because I've been reading it and learning shlokas and it doesn't work. I'm still falling. So that reinforces your belief. And now that you have that belief reinforces your actions to not try, and not trying reinforces your belief that you can't be Krishna conscious, which reinforces your actions to try less, which reinforces your belief that you can't be Krishna conscious. You understand? It's a circle. Or what we say, a vicious cycle. It works the other way around also. You try harder, you'll get realization, and then it'll strengthen your belief that you can be Krishna conscious. Anyway, Prabhupada was trying to convince us we could be Krishna conscious. Now, I want to share my realization, because I counsel devotees. There's a process called coaching, where in coaching, you coach people who are successful. You don't coach people with problems. You coach people who don't have problems. They just want to be, or they don't have big problems. They're not coming to you with their problems. They're coming to be more successful, right? I don't get anyone like that. Nobody. Generally, they come to me when they have problems, and when they don't, they're like happy. So I get to coach and counsel all the people with problems. And you know the way I see the problem from my perception, my perspective, what the problem is? The problem is not being absorbed in Krishna. That's all it is. We're not reading enough, we're not chanting enough, we're reading and chanting other things. We're talking about other things. We're looking at other things. You ever been really sick and tried to get better, but you didn't follow the diet? You just ate pizza and ice cream anyway? And you kind of never got better, and you're like, your doctor said you'd be better in 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks you're still not better. Have you ever done that? Like, why is it taking so long? You ever not got good grades on a test and you wonder why? Because you didn't study. You thought you understood it. So it's very common that a lot of devotees are having problems. They're not that absorbed in Krishna. They're just not. It's not like they think about him that much. It's not like talk about him that much. It's not like they hear about him that much. It's like they don't even think about him when they're chanting. That's pretty bad, right? Oh, Leela Shakti, and I'm thinking of Aditi right now. That's weird, isn't it? So I mentioned once, I don't know if you remember, that I asked Prabhupada, does Krishna consciousness mean you should always think of Krishna? Is that important? Or is it more important just be like fully engaged in service, even if you can't remember Krishna? Because you're so busy, you just forget. Prabhu, how's it going? I was so busy today, I forgot to remember Krishna. Or I remembered to forget Krishna. So I wrote Prabhupada a letter and I said, is that okay? I mean, if I slow down to remember Krishna, then maybe I won't do so much service. So Prabhupada said something which I never forgot. He said, the whole point of everything is to be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. That's the whole point. That's what Krishna consciousness is. That's the whole point. So if you think about any time you've had problems, or anyone you know has problems, were they absorbed in Krishna? Now, what were they absorbed in? The problems, or the things causing the problems, or, I'll give you an example. Like, I have this problem, and so what do I do about it? I think about it all the time. I think about the problem. And the problem is that I'm thinking about the problem. And that means I'm not thinking about Krishna, I'm thinking about the problem. And part of the problem of thinking about the problem is, when I'm thinking about the problem, I'm thinking about, I have a problem. So I'm thinking about myself. I'm not thinking about there's a problem in the world that no one has Krishna. I'm thinking, I have a problem. I'm not saying that you shouldn't think about problems, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like So part of the problem sometimes is I'm absorbed in the problem and I'm not thinking of Krishna. I'm not absorbed in Krishna, and so I can't solve the problem. Yes, you had a question?
Devotees don't have problems. Something or somebody is an obstacle in their preaching activities.
Oh, devotees don't have problems? I wish that were true. No, pure devotees don't have internal problems. Pure devotees have problems in making people Krishna conscious. So the obstacles are outside. But neophyte devotees, the obstacles are inside and outside also. And pure devotees, they don't have internal problems. They're Krishna conscious. Their only problem is containing their ecstasy in public, basically. It's true. Yeah. So anyway, another realization I had, I might have mentioned this before. This is this stuff, things are on my mind today as a prelude to this class. Because this class is about Krishna Lila, and in studying this Lila, it made me think of all these other things. Because this Lila, when you get absorbed in it, it just takes you into Braj and Vrindavan, and you understand, through this Lila, you can understand very deeply the love of Jasoda, what that love is. And it's so purifying. Devotees aren't reading Prabhupada's books enough. And so when you read his books, what happens? The mind gets absorbed in different aspects of Krishna consciousness. Now, one time Prabhupada said, we are philosophers, and we should always be discussing philosophy. So sometimes when he was reading with the devotees, he'd read something and then he'd say, now you discuss it. That's discussing philosophy. What's your realization? What's your view? What's your understanding? And we all share that. So Prabhupada was showing, he said, that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's one way to become absorbed in Krishna. Now, Bhagavatam is full of what? It's spotless Purana. It's full of the stories of Krishna and his pure devotees. So if you're absorbed in hearing Bhagavatam, what are you going to be thinking about? Krishna, Krishna's devotees, how attractive Krishna is, how wonderful his devotees are, how pure the love is, like that. You're going to absorb your mind in that. So And then when you do that, your chanting is going to get better because you'll be more Krishna conscious while you're chanting. Now, probably one of the worst things we can do is allow ourselves to get to a point where we're chanting our japa and we're not even thinking of Krishna or feeling Krishna. Now, I know a lot of devotees, they're very busy, they're working hard, and they don't always have time to hear and chant. So that's a dangerous position to be in. Because if you don't have enough time to hear and chant, it's like, you ever see anybody who has malnutrition? Malnutrition? They're not getting enough nutrition. They're anemic, not getting enough protein, or not getting enough this or that. They're always kind of tired and walking up the stairs. You know, they get up there like dizzy, you know, a few flights of stairs, they're dizzy. And you ever seen anybody like that? When we're not hearing and chanting sufficiently or properly, our spiritual life is like that. Do you ever feel like that spiritually? Like, if the wrong thing happened, it could just knock you over. Right? I'm so weak that I hope this doesn't happen, because if this happens, I won't be able to resist. You don't want to be in that consciousness, ever. As they say in Australia, ever. You don't want to be in that consciousness, ever. Have you ever been in that consciousness? Yeah, that is a dangerous place to be. And if you're ever in that consciousness, the first thing you should think of is, the first mantra you should chant is, uh-oh. You know that mantra? You know that mantra? Uh-oh. You have that in Russian? Uh-oh. This is not good. I hope this doesn't happen when I go back to the West, because if it does, I don't think I can resist it. Uh-oh, there's a problem. Do you understand? Uh-oh, yeah. We shouldn't be in that consciousness. So the point is that I forgot the point because I was reading that.
We should be in that consciousness, and the point. We shouldn't be in that consciousness, and the point is.
Tell me what the point is. The point is, we should always be full enough in Krishna consciousness that you would never feel that way. Now, there's another important point. We're talking about conditioning, what conditioning is, right? The more you advance in Krishna consciousness, the more you become aware of your conditioning. So sometimes it's hard to evaluate your advancement, because the more you advance, the more you're aware how advanced you're not. And so then it seems like you're going down instead of up, doesn't it?
But why we should notice that?
Because it's always there, but now you're becoming humble. Whereas before you didn't notice it, because false ego was saying, I'm great, I'm spiritual, I'm smart, I'm good, I'm better than you. That's a sure sign that you're on the bottom of the pile. And when you get to the top of the pile, you think you're on the bottom. So you start to notice. Now, but what's important, this is very important, when you're advancing and you notice these things don't bother you. Right? Let's say you're on your honeymoon. It's the best example I can give. Maybe, I don't know, I shouldn't give this anyway. I'm talking about honeymoon, so now you're thinking, I want to get divorced and get married again so I can go on a honeymoon. So, let's say you're on a honeymoon in some beautiful place, walking on the beach, and it starts raining Do you really care that much? No. Because why don't you care? Because you're with the favorite person. You're the favorite person in your life, the person you love the most, the person who gives you the most happiness and pleasure. You're with that person, so it rains. It's an inconvenience, but it doesn't bother you, right? When you're Krishna conscious, what's the symptom? You're blissful. You're getting realization. You're alive and inspired, isn't it? So when you're aware of your anartha in that state, it doesn't really bother you. It's just an awareness, that awareness of where I'm at in my Krishna consciousness, what I need to work on, but it doesn't slow you down. But when you're not hearing and chanting sufficiently and you're weak, then the anartha, it tends to capture your focus. Oh, I'm so this, I'm so that. You understand? You know what I'm saying? It's like, so now it's, 50 years later, you're on the beach. It's not your honeymoon anymore. Maybe maybe you're not that attached anymore. And it starts to rain. What do you say? Let's go inside, it's raining. So now you're focused on the rain more than your lover. Right? So that's the neophyte position. We're focused on the problem, not on Krishna consciousness. So when you're sufficiently Krishna conscious, you're focused on Krishna consciousness, not on the problem. The problem is an awareness, right? Otherwise, if focusing on the problem made you negative, then all our great acharyas would be the most negative people around, because they've written many songs about their problems. And you might read it and think, someone who's not a devotee might read it and think they misunderstand. Like, what's wrong with this person? This is not spiritual. This person's not spiritual. They're talking about how they're envious of other people. They don't like it when other people are happy. They've done so many sinful things. They have no attraction. What kind of person is this? He doesn't belong in the Krishna consciousness movement. Doesn't even sound like a devotee. And you would also think, this person must be really depressed. Right? They're aware of their conditioning, but they're focused on Krishna. When you become aware of your conditioning and focused on your conditioning, that's a problem. And that's due to a lack of Krishna consciousness. Does that make sense? Yes? Yeah. So, here we have this Damodar Lila to absorb our consciousness, to absorb our minds in this love affair between Krishna and his mother. Now, I had a thought on the way here, just to kind of end this introduction, this 40-minute introduction. Every action of devotional service is cleansing. And every time you cleanse yourself, you're moving something out of your heart that's keeping you away from loving Krishna. So you're becoming a little closer to loving Krishna every time you purify yourself, right? Because that love is... You ever want to say something and you say it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't remember, and it's like, I was just thinking of that devotee and I can't remember his name, it's on the tip of my tongue. Krishna consciousness is just like that. It's like, it's so close, but you just don't feel it so much, but it's like so close. So every time you engage in devotional service, you get a little closer. And every time you don't engage in devotional service, you engage in some material activity, you get a little further. So, as simple as that sounds, it's quite profound to think of that. Because a lot of devotees don't understand why they're having trouble in Krishna consciousness. Because they don't realize they're doing things that are not bringing them closer to Krishna. And say, I've been a devotee for 30 years, how come I'm not on this level? Well, what have you done in those 30 years? How many movies have you watched? How many restaurants have you eaten at? How many times did you go to Mangalartik and not go to Mangalartik? So those actions, they don't move you closer to Krishna. Sometimes they move you away from Krishna. Does that make sense? Now the problem is, as I was saying before, and I'll say it again in a different way because it's important, the problem is, when you don't absorb yourself enough in Krishna consciousness in the right way, in a healthy way, you run into this problem where you're more confronted with your anarthas. And that sheds a doubt on the process, or at least it sheds a doubt on you. Is this process actually going to work for me? Maybe I should just become a Buddhist or a Christian. Maybe how about an atheist? That might be easier. Or maybe I should just become a materialistic devotee. I like Krishna. Maybe I'll become a demigod. That'd be cool. They like Krishna, but they also like to enjoy. Maybe that's all I can do. So you can develop the wrong idea when you're not progressing. Because it reinforces the doubts you have. Right? You're a little kid and your father says, "You can ride the bike, you don't need me to hold it up." And then they go off and they fall over. They go, "No, I can't, I knew I couldn't." And that confirms that they can. So you say, "Yes, you can." And now they have proof that they can't. So they don't want to try. So when we're not executing the process well, we don't get the realization, and then that confirms that something's wrong with me. I can't do it right, or I know I'm spirit soul, but I'm the odd spirit soul. Krishna created some weird spirit soul, and that's called me. That this isn't working on me. When I chant, Chitta-gita. You must have got that from me. Okay, before we go further, does anyone have any questions on this? Okay, what is Krishna doing right now? Anybody know? It's 6:45. What's he doing? Taking prasadam? Or milking the cows? He's already taken prasadam. Come home, taken bath, already taken prasadam, now he's milking the cows. Is that right? And then what's he going to do later tonight?
First, go home every day and go to sleep.
He's going to go home and go to sleep. And then he's going to get up. He's going to go out because he has a date with his girlfriend. Did you know that? He's going to stay up all night. They're going to fall asleep. And they're going to have to be woken up just in time to get back home, back into bed, so it looks like Radha and Krishna were home all night sleeping. And then he's going to get up, and he's going to milk cows. What's the first thing he does? Milk the cows? Milk the cows? Is that the first thing? Get dressed, bathe, or bathe out. Anyway, he milks the cows, he eats, and then he goes out. Yeah, so you could think of that. And he goes out and he stays out with the cows. Then he goes to Radhakund at noon or so, right? Just to have some leela, and then he goes with the cows and comes back in the afternoon. You could think like that, right? If you want. Were you thinking like that today? Yeah. So Damodar is now in this episode getting the affection of his father. And Yashoda is now feeling guilty for having tied up Krishna because the trees fell down, and she realizes they could have fallen on him, and he was tied to a mortar. And it was that mortar, the two things, he was tied so he couldn't get away, and it was that mortar that actually knocked the trees down. The mortar that he was tied to ended up. So she felt responsible and negligent, and Nanda Maharaj also expressed in one way or the other, that wasn't a good move that you made, to tie him up. And whatever Krishna feels, Yasoda feels. So when Krishna's angry at her, she feels that. It's like one heart. It's not like subtle, like we can feel, like, well, look at your face, and there must be something wrong. No, as soon as he feels it, she feels it. And so Krishna, after this whole incident of the trees falling down, and explaining to the elders what happened, of course the elders didn't believe it, and this whole ordeal was over, he's still tied up to the mortar. And he's looking at this and he's thinking, I don't like this. This wasn't right. And he goes back into his original consciousness when he was tied up of fear and anger. And he's really feeling a lot of anger towards Yasoda, or resentment, or whatever. So, Yasoda moves to the background, feeling guilty. Krishna's angry at her. That anger she feels keeps her away. And then Nanda comes to the forefront. And he unties Damodar. And he's pacifying Damodar. And he's all about daddy, daddy now. He's not about mommy, mommy. Mommy's in the background. And so father and son are bonding, and mother's becoming more morose, more guilty, more ashamed. And mother goes and hides in her room and won't come out. And she's feeling Krishna's anger, so it makes it worse. And they're calling her out. It's time to eat. She won't come out. So she's feeling really, really bad. Now I'm going to read something. It's very heavy. And if we can get absorbed in what we're going to read today, we'll have a new mantra. The mantra will be, wow. You say wow in Russia? Wow? Yes? Something like that. How do you say it? Say it the same way? Wow. Whoa. Whoa. I have to find where we left off. I'm working on something with a devotee, and the devotee only has today and tomorrow off. So I've been working like an insane person since Thursday I have to write text for a website, and it's like, writing page after page of course descriptions and descriptions of books and free courses, and just so I don't even know where we left off. I have to find them. I'm kind of coming in here somewhat unprepared. Yeah. Okay. Here's a picture of Nanda Maharaj and Krishna. I have one of the most amazing pictures of Krishna Balaram you've ever seen in your life. I don't know if anyone's seen this picture. I was at Vaisheshika Prabhu's home many years ago, 7 or 8, and he had it on his wall. and I was chanting my japa to it, and I was like overcome because I don't know how to describe it, but it was so real. And I asked if they had a copy or something, so they made a photocopy of it. And I was just cleaning out my room, and I found it. And I'll bring it, if I remember, I'll bring it tomorrow. It's amazing. We bring it every day, and we have this class. It's amazing. Okay. So this is the Leela. They're telling Krishna about how sad his mother is. And he's angry at her, and he remains angry, even though they're explaining how unhappy she is and how he could appease her. Nanda Maharaj embraced Krishna and he asked him this question. All the gopis, they're saying that your mother is sad. Will you go and appease her? No, I will not. From now on, I'll only remain with you. Have you ever heard of such a thing before? Completely finished with Jasoda, and I'm only going to stay with you. I don't want to be with mother. Look what she did to me. Krishna, if you don't go to your mother, where are you going to get breast milk? Because I'm a big boy. I can drink cow's milk. Who are you going to play with? Who's going to entertain you like your mother? My father. I'll play with my father. Isn't this amazing? Like Krishna can act just like an ordinary kid. Isn't this exactly what would happen in this world, right? When the son is mad with the mother. Yes? Play with my father, and I'll play with my brother. Well, what about your brother's mother, Rohini? I will not go to her. She abandoned me. And no, she wasn't there when he got tied up. She abandoned me, and the result is I got tied up. So I'm not going to go to her. Anyway, he's blaming Rohini. She should have stayed, but she didn't. So, Rohini was talking to Krishna and said, how can you be so heartless? You're causing your mother so much pain. Even Dhruva forgave his stepmother. So did Lord Ramachandra. How come you don't find it in your heart to forgive her? You know what Krishna did? He buried his face in Nanda Maharaj's body. He just went like that. He didn't say anything. So then she encouraged Balaram, try to pacify him. So Balaram went, hugged him. It didn't work. Nothing's working right now. He's just angry. And nobody can get him to like switch. He's just angry. He throws his brother a hand, grabs his father's neck, hugs him. And Nanda Maharaj, what could he do? He was just holding him. And so, being a father, I know how this works. Because the kids are always attached to the mother, right? So if you're a father and your son or daughter is a little bit angry at the mother and they're all over you and they're never all over you, it's kind of like, okay, well, let's go with it, because this is so rare. There's so much affection here, There's so much, because they're very attached at that age, they're very attached to the mother. So Nanda Maharaj is like, wow, this is kind of nice, So he's going along with it. And Nanda Maharaj just never had this intensity, so he just started crying. So now he's shedding tears over Krishna. Now Nanda knew that Krishna's just mad. He really wants his mother. But he's in a bad mood right now. So he could, he feels bad for Krishna, even though they're closer, and he feels bad for his wife. So he's embracing him, but he's thinking, what can we do to get them to unite? So he's got a plan. So he made this interesting plan, reverse psychology, because he could see Krishna was angry. So he pushes Krishna away like he's angry. He says, all right, I know what we'll do. You give me the word and we'll give her a thrashing for what she did. You know thrashing? Yeah, he pushed Krishna away like he was angry, like Nanda was angry, and he said, okay, this is the plan. What she did was so bad, we're going to punish her, we're going to give her a thrashing. This argument worked. You'll see, it gets very heavy. So Nanda's saying, this is unjust, it's a sin, I have to act on it. You just complain and I'll do it. So Krishna runs over to Nanda. See, it works perfectly. He runs over to Nanda, he grabs his hand, he says, no, you can't do this, you can't do this. So now the mood's going to change. So now Nanda, he becomes indifferent. So he's calming down, but the affection for his mother hasn't come back yet. So it's just kind of taken away the negativity, he's in a neutral position, so Nanda has to keep working. So this is what he does next. Phase 2. So he's saying, we shouldn't be surprised if she gets the same fate that she gave you, because she put you in danger, so. So, Nanda's saying, well, look what she did to you. Same thing's going to happen to her. That's her fate. You were suffering, she's going to suffer. And Krishna starts crying, no, 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 no. That can't happen. Don't let that happen. In other words, my devotee can never be vanquished. Don't let my devotee can't suffer. No, no, don't let that happen. And he was just like yelling. What Nanda was implying is that maybe she won't live. Maybe she'll just suffer and die for what she did. And then that drove Krishna crazy. He said, that can't happen. No, 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 no. This is his strategy to drive Krishna crazy. So Krishna finally calmed down, and the first gush of affection started to come through. My mother, where's my mother? Now he's in anxiety that something's going to happen to her. Jasoda rose to her feet. She could hear her son. Yes. But this is the interesting point. They had been, as far as I remember, at this point they'd been separated for 3 days. She left. She didn't hear Krishna's voice. She felt it in her heart that the change had taken place. Because Nanda had brought about that change, and now she felt it in her heart. Isn't that amazing? Whatever he felt, she felt. His indifference was like the full force of a winter storm. So she felt his indifference, now she felt his affection. So now, Krishna's so worried about his mother and wants to see her, he jumps off Nanda Maharaj's lap and runs towards her. Where is my mother? I have to go there. Where is she? Bewildered by his own love, Krishna ran to Rohini for shelter, crying, "Where's mother? Where's mother?" Rohini embraced him, treasuring his touch, and wiping his tears, she replied, "Do not fret, come with me." Okay, so I'm going to read this because this is heavy. And this is a good way to go to sleep tonight with this story. Because this will show you what love is. Now they've been separated. Krishna was angry with his mother. Nanda Maharaj got him to think that somehow his mother may not live or may suffer. He's running back to her, "Where's my mother?" So it's actually a story of separation. And now it's meeting after separation. So meeting is more intense after separation. After what seemed like eternity, Jasoda saw her door open cautiously and silently. Only Rohini and Krishna were so bold. It was both of them. Rohini was holding Krishna's hand, but not for long. As soon as he saw the outline of his mother through his tears, Krishna ran weeping to Jasoda, climbed into her lap, and wrapped his arms around her neck. So it was like this. This is meeting after separation. This is very intense right now. And it describes how intense it is. The aggregate of all the happiness in the world, when multiplied 1,000,000 times, could not match a drop of the ecstasy that Mother Yashoda felt with Krishna in her arms. So this is just a sample of what love is. That it's, you can only get it in your head. You can't really understand it. But the point is that she thought she had lost Krishna's love, and now Krishna came back, and what she's feeling is indescribable. You can't even figure it out with a calculator, how much ecstasy she's feeling. Should I read that again? The aggregate of all the happiness in the world, when multiplied 1,000,000 times, could not match a drop of the ecstasy that Mother Yasoda felt with Krishna in her arms. And if the aggregate of all the love in the world was multiplied 1,000,000 times, it could not match a drop of the love that Krishna felt from Yasoda's embrace. He was never-ending bliss personified, and she was boundless love personified. So he was giving her ecstasy, she was giving him love. As bliss can be tasted in proportion to the amount of love one has, love can be experienced in proportion to one's ecstasy. Thus, mother and son perfectly complemented each other's divine sentiments. Holding each other heart to heart, they both felt complete, for each was half of the whole that was their union. So then it describes when they were embracing, they couldn't feel the difference between one another. It was just one. So Krishna's feeling his mother's love. She's feeling the ecstasy that's coming. So he's feeling the love. It's making him ecstatic. The ecstasy's going to her. It's making her feel love. And it's just going around. And then they merge. That's Krishna consciousness. Would you like to experience that? Yeah. Well, stop watching those movies and going to restaurants and getting up late and spacing out when you chant, because as long as you continue to do that, Now, the reward of Krishna consciousness is that you become a receptacle to taste rasa. So when you become pure, the more pure you become, the more you taste when you hear these pastimes. The more you taste when you chant. And so, the more we don't take the Krishna consciousness properly, then we're doing the same activities, but we're not really relishing or tasting. Right? So this is the real reward. Prabhupada was asked once, reporter said, "What do you get by chanting?" So the reporter is thinking, you must get peace, you must get bliss, maybe you get focus, de-stress. And Prabhupada didn't say any of that. Prabhupada said, you get more chanting. Which did make sense to him. But it makes sense to us. What did Prabhupada mean? He said, what do you get by chanting? You get a taste for chanting. So what do you get by hearing Krishna Leela? You get a taste for hearing it, so you can relish it more, and it'll have more effect on your heart. Because the point of Krishna consciousness is to soften the heart, right? The heart is hard. And so hearing these pastimes hopefully will soften our heart a bit. Yes? Okay. So, does anyone have any questions? Comments? Arguments? You're all stunned, is that it?
And this time in Krishna Lila, 6 p.m. till 8:24, Krishna and Balarama are taking bath, and then they change the clothes and eating sweets, which Radha sent them. And after that, Krishna milking the cows and going to Yamuna to meet Radha again there. And after a while, when Nanda Maharaj finished his puja, so Krishna come back home and they got dinner and in blissful mood and was laughing and joking at home. And then Yashoda give Krishna's remnants to Radharani. And Radha very happy honored.
You can put that on your day timer, you know.
Yeah, I would it, Maharaj. It's amazing to remember.
8 times, there are 8 different activities. So you can, every 3 hours you can get a message.
I want to get like more detailed according to the time.
Of course, if you're Krishna conscious, at a certain stage you think like that. You always think like that. But anyway, that's what we're supposed to be thinking about. And also how to serve Krishna by making others Krishna conscious. Yes? Okay, so we can end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Bye everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.